rather think of only care for yourself. You are nothing but the flesh of the devil. You're evil, low life on another level. Think about the mothers in the pain they go through. You don't care for these kids, they mean nothing to you. But karma only knows the boomerang maneuver. One day the green reaper will be your remover.
This head of the range ranting up some sanctimonious food is a poetic verses, ruminate a prophecy given to a sentient dude. So I say it's at ease for you to listen and deduce the wisdom that's gonna liberate and galvanize you. Under the sun ain't nothing new, therefore black on black crimes and breaking news. Under the sun ain't nothing new.
You gotta stand up, stand up for what you believe in. Gotta stand up, stand up for what is right. 'Cause if you got me, then I got you too. Regardless of what you've been through, even when you're feeling new.
Where is the
Do
love?
this if we try. There's no time to waste, no time. Together forever, whatever the weather. Us as a unit working together.
See, I did not love done, but me heart still not tongue. God don't lift me up, but me heart still not run. You will never go far if you don't know where you're from. So I don't do it for myself, I'ma do it for the young. Please to my brothers, let's do it for the youngers. Why spend a bag on a jumper? Back where you're from, people dying with hunger. With people then they suffer. You then I you the bluff, it's copper. You're the game, need for change. Like we not get up. Where's the love? Where's the love, yo? Where's the love? I said,
Where is the love? Little youth, let's take time. Stop all the knife and the gun crime. Think of the future, paint that picture. Get a youth in the future. Peace gonna rain on me. Peace gonna rain on me. Yeah.
Let's stop the violence and come together. Get rid of knives and guns and bombs, let's be together. Pray peace and love, golden hope through storm and weather. See what is going on.
Where is the love?
Tell me, how do you feel when you see your brothers and sisters lying down the street helplessly? And what will you do if you die today and find yourself in hell?
I want to ask you this. Look inside your eyes and answer me with all the truth. Where you get, whose side the love thing?
when I left. Boku man them get nef. If you live by the nef, you go suffer. You know get sense, you know sabi say nef not for butter. Stabbing guys, yeah that's uncool. When it comes to knives, yeah I'm anti. What happened to fighting guys with your hands, G? When you stab a man, it's not one man you stab. Just remember that you stab a whole family.
People killing, people dying, children hurt and hear them crying. You can practice what you preach, or you will turn the other cheek. Father, 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 help us, send some guidance from above. People got me questioning, where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love? The love, the love. Where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love? The love, the love.
When I was young, a lot of things were different. Unfortunately, most of the differences seen now are heartbreaking and are not good at all.
Before now, men were strong protectors of the weak, fathers, brothers, lovers, sons. Their mere presence guaranteed the safety of women and children.
But what do we do now?
Men harassing and raping women.
Men sexually abuse little girls.
Men battering and killing their wives.
Any form of sexual assault, be it rape, sexual abuse, or pedophilia, is a killer to human self-esteem.
Women should stop dying in silence.
Speak now.
The rapist should be stigmatized, not the victim.
I think death sentence should be the consequence of such terrible act.
And you mothers, build confidence in your children, put trust in them, listen to them when they make reports, and take necessary actions.
Talking of mothers before now, women were virtuous.
They were mothers, daughters, and sisters.
Nurturing, counseling, supporting their men folks.
But now,
women are trafficking female children for money.
Women are forced to be silent.
All this must stop, and it must stop now.
Real men do not abuse, rape, or molest women and children.
It is barbaric, unacceptable.
Let all real men stand with us.
Together, let's say an emphatic no to rape, sexual abuse, pedophilia, and domestic violence.
Of all the crimes committed against a person, rape is the one that leaves a person feeling very violated. A rape victim is often left with the feeling that a part of them has been torn apart.
To use another person's body and ignore the souls that resides within is one of the most outstandingly shocking crimes that one person can commit against another.
Some men harass and rape their women.
Some men sexually abuse underage girls.
Some men beat and kill their wives.
Any form of sexual assault is unacceptable.
There must be consent before you act.
Being in a relationship is not consent.
If they are not sober, they can't consent.
Flirting is not a consent.
We had sex before is not consent.
Silence is not consent.
Only an informed, sober, freely given, ongoing, and enthusiastic yes is consent.
Women should stop dying in silence.
A man does not become a real man by physically dominating a woman. A man becomes a real man by loving, protecting, and respecting the woman.
Real men do not rape or abuse women and children.
Let all real men stand with us. And together, let's say no to child abuse, no to domestic violence, no to all forms of rape, being it spousal rape, intimate partner rape, child sex abuse, statutory rape, date rape, serial rape, and gang rape.
We must rise up against this ugly trend. Justice for one, justice for all.
All sexual assault must stop, and it must stop now.
The Sierra Leone entertainment industry UK and I appeal in response to COVID-19. Coronavirus is here.
I just want to tell you this short story here, but coronavirus waiting, especially me they miss na the entertainment industry.
COVID-19 don't put the world into a standstill. We know say no party need to go on, no shows.
And as a community, we don't come together anymore like we used to, especially during the weekends.
I know it's hard. Honestly, I know it is hard.
Stay home, stay safe, please.
We know exactly it is causing so much psychological problem and financial problem.
It is a harsh reality for all small business owners across the world.
The coronavirus that affects me big time in my community because I need to even get chance for come on and do for go do my business. We mean a businessman.
I'm a hairdresser and I have a lot of clients, and also I work with a team of other hairdressers.
Actually, as pandemic affect my business greatly.
Well, I'm in a beauty business. Everybody just stays indoors and would not want to have on makeup, especially those who just do makeup when they want to go out.
Just do things that you've always wanted to do. Learn a new skill, read a new book, watch a series on Netflix.
Yo, my people, wherever you are, whatever you do, remember, Corona is real.
The last few weeks had been very anxious and stressful for everyone.
Like everyone, I felt the wide-ranging impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, challenging our extended family unit.
It has not been the same working from home.
You should only go outside if you need to get essential items or if you're a key worker, like my mum who works at the NHS.
Do ya, my people them, make we follow the rules them at this very time.
Coronavirus is real.
We not say it's not easy, it's difficult, especially when we get family for feed.
Because the longer this goes on, the longer we won't be able to return to our normal lives. And the only way we can is if we follow the guidelines.
Let's come together and save lives.
Just because being a musician, I tour and I perform and all my shows have been cancelled due to the situation. So
that said, everything about coronavirus has not been all negative. For example, staying at home has enabled me to spend more time with my children.
The positives are though, you can spend more time with your family members, you can appreciate the importance of humanity, you can see people being generous and kind and supportive.
We pray that these dark days will soon be over, and as a community we can bounce back stronger and better.
I mean, all the activities that we normally do on a daily basis, it's not happening at the moment.
We don't shake hands like we used to. We don't hug like we used to. And as a matter of fact, the outbreak of this pandemic has instituted the practice of physical distance.
By doing so, we are stopping this virus being spreading. Then we can get to our normal daily life.
One thing I believe for sure, we're going to come out of this very strong, you know.
Yeah, anybody who gets mama, naya, auntie, with an old age, we get any underlying illness, please we always contact and check them.
But this don't left them very, very sad. This don't left them for feel so isolated. This don't left them for feel confused.
Coronavirus or COVID-19 has affected my community in so many ways that we have never seen before.
Due to this virus, we've suffered mentally, physically, and emotionally.
Coronavirus is causing lots of mental health for people in my area.
My community, I don't even see my neighbors now. We're all indoors.
For all this time so far, the mood has been extremely somber, especially considering how unpredictable the whole situation is.
We are in the house and doing online studies, which is not easy, and it is sad.
My dad is a bus driver and he works because he's a key worker. People who are not key workers, please stay at home to prevent the spread of coronavirus.
At the moment, I'm now doing online studies because coronavirus has affected my studies at school.
I'm begging you as your sister and your daughter, please stay safe.
COVID-19 pandemic has affected us all, professionally, socially and personally, with some drastic changes made to our daily lives.
I would like you to follow the instruction government are saying to you.
Romans 13:1 and 2, it says every person must submit to and support the authorities over him.
May the Lord bless us and keep us. May the Lord cause his face to shine upon us and give us peace.
This is the time that we need to come back together. This is the time we need to reconcile. This is the time we need to begin to love each other. This is the time we need to let go of those things.
And what we know is that at this time, we all need God's protection.
Remember, we are all in this together. Coronavirus is real.
So please stay at home.
Because we want you for their life. We want you
for Dewey Salon Suite. We want you to enjoy salon.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, depending whose part na the world you dey na salon. Welcome to another edition of the Big Sierra Leone debate. Me, Juma Ba, the owner presenter, as well as my co-presenter, Sylvester Tiboy Dubade, also live with Tuna. As Una know, always on Wednesdays, it's Big Sierra Leone debate where they get a group of people where we can talk on issues that will relate to Sierra Leone and the world generally. And on Tuesdays, we usually can get from time to time zooming in when we get specific individuals then we can talk to we on issues personally or relating to Sierra Leone and the globe as well. So today, as we been advertised, we topic now the use of force in law enforcement, the Sierra Leone experience. That is what we will be discussing today. So as always, let me keep the conversation going. Today we'll open the phone line quick. So now we're able for calling and make our own contribution then. We get on the panel will advertise, but before I go to that, let I go to Sylvester Duba. Let me say hello to family.
Family Akusha, have you seen anybody don't forget me? Because you know sometimes you like for forget me like I need to exist.
Now the power that they forbid the little moderator, so I can bully you left buff. You know get sign for good.
Don't follow, bro. You come from you come from the theory what I do friend pieces back away from.
No worry.
Family, a good evening, Akusha. In the day, I good to know with richness and blessings for make sure say when I get the best of what we can always do when I dash this guy for do for back today.
Wonderful. Again, we get with Mr. Femi Palmer, when our technical director, without come live to una able for Yeriwi or Siwi. So, Mr. Palmer, can you say hello to our viewers? The one for you always a try for balance, but you're not get for the balance.
You want to make it left for where that company when it agree.
Yes.
Hello, family.
They not hear you.
Hello, people. Them now do Kushe Femi here. Bye bye.
Wonderful. That's Mr. Palmer. And I only see him back at the end of the show. Like I say, we topic today now the use of force in law enforcement, the Sierra Leone experience. And we suppose forget three people then for come join this conversation. We're not expert them. However, as we know, live programs, sometimes you face some challenges and difficulties, and with the virtual world, they just get and able for change last minute. So that was one reason why we be the delay for see if we will forget them people and they. I will try for apologize for a couple of them. We possibly not able for join we Honorable Almami Kamara, we the former Minister of Youth Affairs and also former Member of Parliament and former Ambassador to Iran. They keep too well today, so it try, but not able, and we see say no go do justice to them and we audience them. So hopefully we'll get out with we next week. Also, we other voices that we always hearing at the community, we na lawyer Abubakar Sidiko, we na attorney at law na the United States, and also former flag bearer aspirants for the All People's Congress. Himself supposed for the retreat, but being that he's a lawyer and the time difference, in the middle of the day in the United States, it didn't cut right now, but indefinitely go come join we as we progress with the show. The other guest who we get na Abdul Karim Koroma, we na lawyer and a barrister na Sierra Leone. We don't get another this program before. Instead, we can join we shortly following for continue the conversation. A good day with we. So another the topic. Why we choose this topic? Because it's been a center of discussion and a center of concern for Sierra Leoneans and everybody. And it get for do it with human rights issues them. But again, it get for do with protection of lives and property, where we believe say the state gets right for make sure say them protect every citizen and every property na Sierra Leone, because we base this on say the Sierra Leone experience, so we base them specifically on Sierra Leone. The reason why we choose this topic, because if we don't see the I use law enforcement generally, but let now and down first to the police, because when we talk about law enforcement, the first people who they talk about now police. Police now then there for keep the peace, protect life and property. So the police, depending on whose situation you face, then can be your party, depending on whose situation or whose aisle you there, then can be, I not gonna say you enemy, but no, they're not going to be your good friend them. So if the law they bet you, they're not your good friend them. But if the law they in your favor, the police they want to. Regardless, we need them. So that's why we're discussing this topic, as we say. But for the past 2.5 years, we don't see so many things that we get for do with security generally, where the police they call say. Then they go out yonder, then they use force for protect life and property because people and the way they disturb the peace. And we not want for being law abiding. However, they don't face serious criticism. And this gets for do so much with the loss of lives in the past 2.5 years. It's been happening, but it don't become rampant. So that's why it's a concern. You know, we don't see the most recently, the Pademba Road issue. Most recently, we see the issue na Tombo. Most recently, we see the issue na Lonsar. And just a couple of days or last week, we see waiting happen na McKinney, where people have lost their life. Before that, there's been other incidents, but not so, you know, in a greater number like the areas than they. So that is why people are calling for us to have this conversation. The use of force in law enforcement. We want to know waiting the law permits, whose kind force where the law permits. The law permit for let the police and any other state security agents use force on ordinary citizens. So these are the questions we'll be asking, you know, lawyer Abdul Karim Koroma, as well as when lawyer Kaloko join me. But before that, T-Boy, I want to go to you quick. Let's have highlight within now some of the things that we for get this conversation here. So, okay, for joining me.
Well, a lot has been said already by you, and I believe say most of the issues that we describe for highlights now issues that we don't do a lot for do with the amount of violence where they happen as alone in terms of the police brutality, whether it is acceptable or whether it is not acceptable. We just don't know exactly what's in the formats. I don't know whether there is a manual or there is a brief or there is a booklet where they illustrate to Sierra Leoneans then what's in the norm and what's in to the norm. Because in this part of the world, you get manual where they guide the police and law enforcement, then they tell you, say, there are certain do's and don'ts. Even though sometimes they break the laws, they mark my aso. But the police now, one particular set of people where they install peace in terms of civilian populace. And when you talk about the other forces that were involved in keeping the peace, not all forces that we really need for be on the road within the midst of civilians. For example, the military and the para and the other extraordinary forces that we sometimes governments they put together in terms of their security apparatus or for other personal security reasons. But in the context of what we try for say today, we try for ask questions and see what are the possible actions that we police will really take against civilians, or what are the measures that police can take in terms of keeping the peace. Keeping the peace is one big word where it gets plenty models for put them together. It's either by force, by negotiation, by dialogue, or by any other means of communication where you're able to settle any kind of disputes, either between civilians or between anybody we involved when you want to try to keep that peace with. But also at the same time, you get the police force when are the key sector of keeping the peace within the civilian populace within any country or any community, but they are governed by certain rules. I don't know whether any rules then they for be open to the public for me to know what is their right and what isn't their right. When arrest, when them for resist arrest, what are the issues them if they resist certain arrest, if policeman stop you, what you for do, what you not for do. They're law and they're very clear in Europe, because when policemen stop in Europe, the first thing they ask them about now, Why did you stop me? If the policeman able to give you any reason for stop you, he say, well, I just do a routine check. Fine, no problem. What is the routine check all about? It's either I am a wanted person, or you did do a routine check because you feel to say I did drive another driving license, another insurance, or mostly they can say you fit a description. And that fits a description they right now something really against race boundaries, because then they call them now racial profiling. So if they're racial profiling, you still get rights for challenge that, because if you get a racial profile of somebody, there should be an evidence of that racial profile, either by picture, by video, or by something we go for make them comparison in there. So they don't even make them tough for police officers them for even use racial profile right now for stop anybody of color or anybody with them to say don't commit any form of crime without evidence of stopping you, without evidence of arrest. But is it the same practice in Sierra Leone? Do we have that manual in front of the police, or some of the police then really know what are the rules and regulations of stop and search, or stop and ask questions, or stop and do any kind of thing you're supposed to do as a police officer? So that's now one of the few questions we may think to say you're supposed to ask today. What's in that possibilities? What are the norms? What are the do's and don'ts of authorities in Sierra Leone for either execute an arrest, for either stop somebody based on the allegation, or for anything we get for do with keeping the peace?
Right. Thank you so much, T-Boy. You don't highlight that too, places like the United Kingdom and, other parts of the world. Yes, we know, say, other parts of the world, police, then they use excessive force, but the way it happen in our own country, it don't become rampant. Waiting at the cause, now we're not able to understand yet. They say a lot of blame game. They say, one thing where I notice, or before I come yonder, let we talk about some of the questions that we say for ask. Some of the questions that me go get for ask once we joined by lawyer AKK as well as lawyer Kaloko. Now that how then they determine force when for go use this force? Is it a premeditated? So now go yonder, and who that they give the order for use this force here so then they use with it, in the loss of lives, precious lives, na Sierra Leone. And look at the prison incident, for example. We've talked about this before, but we talk again. Who that creates the situation will cause the riots within the prison, because the prison in itself is a controlled area. However, you get people inside it and say the prison has the riots. But the first thing they say prison break. So, and within the prison, you still get armed guard. Why make them not be able for curtail that? But then the thing graduates to another dangerous level wherein we hear gunshots, and then they will know for say normal policeman na salon, no they carry gun. The riot police them, where then go, most of them, majority, na them baton then get. How can call them koboko no so? Yeah, koboko na then get with them shield. But not to, I don't say not to boku person inside with that koboko again. So, but you get yeah. So you get a few OSDs them where then they put within the riots police team, we get gun them. Okay. But the level of firing and so on and so forth, and that tear gas, live rounds and all that, and the report will end up come out, say people die of bullet wounds. So waiting cause them bullet wounds and one thing we know about the security forces them, they're very disciplined. Disciplined in a sense within themselves. Person, they just grab no more randomly and go do something. It forgets order from high command. So who that's not the positive issue that high command did. But then the worrying part, when you see as well as what you call it, the military people them, we're not a war situation, the country not at threat, the constitution not at threat, nobody no can invade the country. You see people them begin they shoot rampantly for kill people them because they riot. The person they not get gun, now stony get. You're able for shield yourself, you're able for use minimal force for make sure say you curtail that person there. So that's the situation with the prison incident. You come to the Tombo incident. Who that creates the situation will make the people of Tombo begin riot in the first place. We know so get state of emergency, COVID. So the reason why I make the highlight some of them, so T-Boy and review as them. Now, because it is quick for let people then say, oh, the youths then lawless. Because we don't stigmatize the youth, we don't stereotype them so much that anything will happen, we blame the youth because we believe, say, we youth them idle, they're illiterate, they're lawless. So we don't put them in a category, say, yes, they are guilty, so they can kill them. Where I think, say, totally wrong. That's not how it should be. You cannot just get up and start shooting people because you think, say, it's lawless. For let somebody riot, nobody grab in the morning and begin say, I want to go riot. We are not defending people. We are not condoning, say, people get riot for disturb the peace. But equally so, we cannot justify shooting at people using excessive force, whether you shoot them, you beat them till them bleed, you pull their teeth or something of that nature, then you use that, you say you go kill them. No. Let's go back even before all this. I could say 2.5 years ago, where all this don't start. There was an incident in Jala University where students they riot within the university, then send police them. And what you don't they see now, the police them not they just, or these armed guards them, let's use the word, the armed guards, where they go, not they just use force and kill people, but there is the verbal threat. So that means it's premeditated. Verbal threat, say, go shoot you now, use some kind of language, then beat people, even where somebody within go identify, say, no, that person not be mixed, but they will still try to use force. So that's the Jala incident. The same thing happened Lonsar, T-Boy. I know, say you follow that a little bit, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So go ahead. You say what you get for say on that.
The Lonsar issue, I don't know exactly the area where it cover as a whole, because Lonsar not a big place, not a very small place. But the other thing where they shock me most, now the fact say, if there is police brutality happening at any particular region in Sierra Leone, are these not the same people that you come across or see every day in your life? Is there any form of reasoning to say, I sabi this person, because Lonsar a very small town. You walk inside Lonsar, you sabi almost everybody. So basically,
and everybody in Lonsar, by the way, most of the people, majority, they're all related.
I know. So for like issues like that, they happen and then it become a disaster, it's either a personal vendetta where possibly the force they take against these people, or it's just something when not just an individual or unruly behavior by possibly some police officers, they went on to take the control of maybe their superiors. But I just still wonder why incidents like this for escalating and then small pocket areas they are so we really gets to do with people that we almost have everybody. What is the grudge? Why can't some of these things be in the position to settle? Why can't we just settle it? But if I can just left Lonsar small, you mentioned a few issues then where you say you don't know whose side these others in the common form. I believe say there is also mandates by some of the forces then where they take upon themselves and make certain decisions them on the road, because physically I've been stopped and scuffled right in the middle of Lumley, and I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? What happened? And guess what? By some kind, man, this was like 3 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm asking, what happened? Talk now what back, but I said, whose word? So we just snap no more. Like I don't understand, and seriously, I don't understand what was happening. Why I say choke guy, the guy choked me and able to breathe. Then I said, man, release me. He said, no, I need to release you. What I talk that word? I said, which word? What I talk that word? I said, this not. And I said, bro, left me, if you not left me now, I defend now, man, so unnecessarily. What I did, and I said, I'm not being nobody. I just say no more, left me. But the boss who have been there with me, just run him out. You know what the man there? Now, journalists say this so. For that particular reason, the guy begin lose the scuffle. But you not get forbid somebody for the person release that tension there because you don't know now say you now media practitioner. But to be honest, I didn't do anything. I didn't even know what was happening. I just see this. I mean, my can book minimum. Talk that way back. Talk that way. So basically, some thinking they now just decisions made promptly by individuals. They will feel the same and just take the laws them as their own hands and do whatever they feel the need for do at that particular point in time. So sometimes I don't really put all the blames on order from above. The order from above one, and I think that way we can't comprehend because definitely then go say not all, but then order from above now. So we would hear most of the time. Who that they give the order? We never knew or know who that particular person you don't give that order because it's either not true or even if it's true, we're not even in the position for me to know order give that order.
Right.
So these are some of the questions sometimes.
So, but T-Boy, I agree with you to some point extent. Say, the individual gets his own responsibility for do what is right within But again, me, don't fortunate at some point in my life where they made a restructure the military, after the war. I was one of the people that participated as a trainer for train the military people, on human rights issues and child protection. Just after the war. So what we did first, the reason I mention this now for maybe challenge you point small. When we try for access, we ask them, why did you kidnap, picking them, you kill them, go forced labor, rape them and waiting. So the first thing we then tell we, honestly, majority say they're not kidnap the Pekin and protect them, they protect the Pekin. So you see how their mind they run. But then when we continue the conversation in the training program, they're able to understand a whole lot of things and they know about child protection issues. We run a lot of case studies for them. You know what came out of that training?
No.
They say they're not being known all the TRO they tell them. So, meaning the top ranking people them, where then go do all the courses and studies and all that, they trickle down. So you deprive the regular officer for let you know what thing is supposed to do and what thing not supposed to do. So you hold all the information to you. But that is not just not just unique with military or police or security personnel. I think it's a problem with them. We know they pass knowledge down. And education is key. It's something that has to be continuous. You send people for continuous development. If then they create a problem, if you don't get reports about this specific officer all the time, say they beat people, they cause people, they do this, you got to send them for training. That means something that you're not doing right. So my point is, if not to you, they give orders from above, you they fail for hold them accountable and responsible, or you deprive them, you not get the information, or you think say Naina the best person for go do the havoc for you while you sit down behind your table. So not to just the killing what we they see is just the end part. A lot of other violence and excessive force the way people and they use. You don't need for just beat the person by just intimidating and coercing that person, a la banana treat. Tell us I will show you say me a policeman using threat. All of that is part of excessive force because you force a role as a police or security personnel and for try for make the person feel comfortable, you not be judgmental with them before, But when you don't begin drive, you dress like for say you they go on a war front, then that don't become problem for us. But where lawyer AKK and lawyer Kaloko can join we. Then we before talk on the legal parts and all that thing. So I think we just want to get lawyer AKK to come in and he will join me shortly and can talk on the legal parts within because an expert, me not to expert on this issue. We just they keep the conversation going until he come. Welcome lawyer Abdul Karim Koroma, we a lawyer and barrister na Sierra Leone, na Sierra Leone Judiciary. Welcome, sir. When they hear you?
It means force.
Yeah, thank you very much, my brother.
All right, welcome, and thank you for taking the time for joining me. And so you meet me and T-Boy will be the give your own layman perspective on this issue, on this topic. The topic, the use of force in law enforcement. And, you know, just we don't highlight certain incident that we don't happen recently, we bring we to this. But I want to let you put this into perspective for we. The general topic first, then we will ask you, we'll continue for the ask you question. And by the way, we hope for lawyer Kaloko join me in the process of the conversation. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Before I start the conversation, let me draw your attention to the reasons why, in fact, we get this conversation. You know, recently we see a number of incidences where the use of force can result to fatalities. The recent one being the incident where happened at McKinney. And before I proceed, firstly, I must express my sympathy for the loss of lives and also for the people that we suffer as a result of what happened at McKinney. And any other incident that would happen at this country will result to the loss of lives as a result of law enforcement. The use of force in law enforcement is a very important topic under the human rights perspective, because it falls under the general responsibility of a state for ensure say there is law and order. The state get the responsibility for ensure say there is peace and security for everybody, regardless of who you are, where you are, and what you're doing. And therefore, for enforce the law, the state can use security them and other agencies them for enforce the law and order. But however, we get guiding principles in law where the state for follow or agencies them for follow when they use force. And them principles then they also entrench in international human rights treaties where Sierra Leone are signatory to. One good thing about Sierra Leone is that we are almost signatories to every human rights treaty. But unfortunately, the aspects of enforcement and implementation are looking at problems. The fundamental principle is that the state can use force, but it will be justifiable. And how will they use force? You get several steps the way they take before you use force. Under law enforcement, we get laws them where they prohibit certain individuals for let them do or let them not do something. For example, under we Public Order Act, and they tell you say if somebody want process or do any other thing, if for right to the Inspector General of Police. It not mean say the Inspector General of Police forget and say do so or not do so. The exercise of fundamental human rights not subject to police authorization. The only reason why they can refer to say inform the police now for the safety of you with the protest and also for let you on protest not infringe on another person in normal life. For example, if Party A, Laura assumes in a political party situation, Party A one process and one pass along Abacha Street. If in Abacha Street the other party office day, then go tell you so no, not use that day, you go provoke some kind of violent scene. So those are the areas. And also for those where they protest in large crowd and can tell you say not use the central business district because you go obstruct. So that's the only reason. It not mean so then say if for seek the consent of the Inspector General of Police, meaning if for tell you say no, go today, not go tomorrow, no. So that one and then our benchmarks. And internationally, because if you look at the African Charter on Human Rights, General Comment number 3, it clearly laid down the procedure in which the state can use force. For example, that make you get the issue of warning. Sometimes then they tell you say use water, hot water. Sometimes then they tell you say use rubber bullets. But for them use legal force, we will result to the loss of life, therefore be highly justifiable in the sense that it's either the lives of other people who know they pan this protest, they at risk, or the lives of the law enforcement officers also they at risk. In their circumstances, then they can be justifiable for use force only commensurate to the threat, to the foreseeable threat. For example, somebody no go to map na corner, a law enforcement officer, you want fact me from my fact. small stone they are take GPMG and decide for spray. That is disproportionate and not justifiable. But if it's somebody they far, you want out them and then other F-15 for two at me, I can send one water or I can fire tear gas for disperse them. The only level where they use legal force now the circumstances under which either the lives of people when are innocent people they are at risk, or the lives of the law enforcement agents also they are at risk. Now, what will happen after the operations? For example, for can assess whether in fact the law enforcement agencies they use lethal force, waiting at the right or the recourse to people who are affected by that situation. I go weigh in on that as we go. But that generally now the notion of the use of force when and the circumstances under which you can do that.
Okay, thank you so much for bringing that. At least you don't highlight say Sierra Leone as is part of community of nations. We're supposed to live by rules, regulations, including the human rights charter and all the other protocols them and laws them what you call them, laws of the land first, when are the constitution, where they protect everyone, and all the human rights charter and every other law and protocol out there where other countries then they use. But you don't highlight, and so that means say as a nation we are not blinded to this. They once we become refugees now that me and T-Boy they discuss, wherein we don't know how much the knowledge they trickle down so the people the way they go now the field, the field officers, the operators them, when then they end up possibly with the see the fire and all that thing. Because like we stated that security agencies or state security agencies, just grab to the glad you go begin fire. The next moment they catch you, then can go in a guard room or then go put you in a police and all that thing, and how you get the gun wait to make you fire for us. But when a group respond to an incident, they must don't get command somewhere. So waiting, is it possibly the command partner the problem there, or the one that we actually they carry the act for use force?
Yeah, thank you very much. The law makes very clear, under international legal statute. Firstly, the responsibility they on the state. Because whether a police officer, a gendarmerie, or any other agent of the state, right. That is what is a agent of the state. So the state get the responsibility for ensure training, planning, the conduct of the law enforcement operations, that all this trickle down from the command center up to the one the way they execute. And practically, I don't conduct several sessions for law enforcement agencies on this topic. Now that make us so particular on this one. The circumstances under which you use legal force. Because it is the states who get the responsibility for ensure, say, the law enforcement agencies then get this knowledge in the first place. Now that make when you go to a police training school or even the OSD training school, even the military, because most times they can result to the use of the military where absolutely necessary. So they can involve in law enforcement operations, even though that is purely the duty of the police. But in most cases, they can invoke the military for can do law enforcement, because law enforcement is far away from the battlefield. You deal with harmless people. You deal with civilians. So then usually it's the responsibility of the police. But most times again they can involve the military. For example, recently the Black Lives Matter protest, we see you say some military officers and for come around White House for come guard. So those are cases where you can use the military. But however, the responsibility that therefore follow steps. One, you look at first the proportionality. If they look at the assignment where they give you, they say people in the protest. You therefore examine whether them protesters and they then get the tendency for jeopardize the lives of the law enforcement officers where they go there. Now that make you get the first thing where you do, you warn, you tell them say disperse, and then or sometimes they allow you for use mild things such as the shield them off from protected area, or sometimes you go to the extent and still use one water, or then tell you so okay, use fire tear gas or use rubber bullets. But the situation will go warrant you for use live round. That therefore be with the highest possibility, say, the lives of innocent people go they at stake, or the life of people who in a law enforcement officer is a good at stake, because the law make provision for self-defense where your life is threatened. So now that make usually when a situation they do that happen, the state gets one responsibility. If you find out say law enforcement officers they don't go do operation, and then it results to excessive use of force, so it will lead to lives, loss of lives and property. The first way they do now for institute an independent investigation. We will able to come out to report whether the law enforcement then go beyond the mandate we then give them. If you find out say then go beyond the mandate, then they for face disciplinary action, and where necessary, some can even face trial. In the absence of those, individuals can make complaint. Because if you look at sometimes, you look at the African Court of Human Rights, there are several cases of such nature, especially in East Africa and Central Africa, where people that don't take the state to then commission and they on account of lives lost as a result of law enforcement. So now that make when they do the investigations, and the Amnesty International self can do the investigations, if they come out clearly say the law enforcement officers then go beyond the line, so the state get the responsibility for take internal disciplinary measures. Now only when they fail in that responsibility, you feel say that is not justifiable, then you can trigger now an international mechanism for ensure say you get the justice where you deserve. But however, before you take a matter at the African Court of Human Rights on account of the state agents who violate rights only to loss of life, you get for ensure say you exhaust domestic remedy. For example, you get for find recourse first internally. If you feel say you're not satisfied, that's how you can approach the court. But the exception there, if you feel say generally you know go get the state not make provision for exhaust local remedy, then you can go directly to the African Court of Human Rights. For example, most of them treaties then they will get Sierra Leone will not ratify, will not domesticate them. So therefore, you cannot go to court to seek those remedies. In that situation, you are.
All right. I think
directly.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lawyer AKK, for that brilliant contribution there. And I just want to say we continue the conversation. We don't get whilst we wait. Lawyer Kolokos FD on the way go join with just now, but we get with other regular and I also we insef na lawyer, but me they call her the people's lawyer. You know, I collect what we say the way the cap. You know, we na you know, Lawyer Ahmed Sise. Ahmed Al-Hussein Sise, welcome to the program.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so you don't I know so you don't follow a little bit on the conversation. You know, so what you said for weighing on this topic right now, the use of force in law enforcement.
Well, I'm glad first of all, I always know the reneg for telling and thank you for bringing this sensitive topics. We camp we border on human rights because it's very, very, very important. And I'm glad the angle Usai Lawyer Abdul Karim taken from for remind me of we human rights obligations. And you see, I always they say when such things they happen, God don't make it easy for we. He don't bring for we an international court, we na a criminal court, not to just a normal human rights court. Now it don't bring a criminal court we they show you the criminal aspect of abusing human rights. That is a criminal aspect of that. Okay, forget about we international obligations on ensuring. Okay, I can always they look at the pop-up and the documents we can guide almost all human rights documents we mirror the human rights documents when at the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It gives you a brilliant preamble. In other words, the human rights beaucoup documents and they from the African Charter when are we regional documents where the African Charter on people's rights, where anything we want to do now, we region Africa, almost every region gets its own human rights document. But for we na Africa, the Banjul Charter for short. Now the papa na in the guide we na the region. Instead in mirror the UDHR, the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, and it give me a brilliant preamble. You know, we na Salone always to sabi regime after regime, how we they determine say yes, this regime powerful. Now the degree of abuse with the police. Earlier on, you did talk about how the police are ill-equipped and ill-trained. Yes, to some extent, but I would like to differ a little bit, okay? We, the politicians, cannot go blameless. The way police and brutality, they occur in our day-to-day governance, the police, every successive regime, I could say this without no hesitation, that the police have been overly subservient to the regime of the day, which is extremely bad, because when the police come, when a new regime come, the police know say it's a political appointment they deal with. So in reality, get for put to test, it get for display say I am super loyal. In other words, they can arrest without a warrant. They can detain you without. You know what you they see? The actual brutality they see, that the one way they go against the 1965 Public Order Act. In other words, riot, the right to assemble. Now we all they see. But there is a huge, a big other abuse where police abuse way bigger than what you they see, which is the abuse of the due process. The rights to fair trial is enshrined in every document where we sign, including regional charter. Now, the police, they arrest without warrants. The police, they detain outside the statutory mandate of 72 hours. The police, they're not able to determine, they go tell you, say, this crime where they commit. How on earth, for instance, the Public Order Act 1965 don't tell we say, before you stage a protest, you get for actually, and any other relevant authority don't tell we say, you get for ask, you get for inform the police.
Okay.
You do not need the approval of the police. But when the police, they give you an okay, then they consider the security of the state, then they consider the peace and tranquility of the people that will go immediately impact, where you action go immediately impact, okay? But you do not, you rights, they cannot give you a right and take them from you. You have freedom of assembly, freedom of speech. They cannot give you back and take them for you. So the police, no police will go argue with me, say, they need police approval. I mean, you need for inform the police, and the police for give you a clearance. Not to approve and say, if you not approve, you not for come out. Like where other people and they argue. We have freedom of assembly. We have freedom of procession. But now the due process, okay? I understand that if security day at risk, the police go curtail Luna or not even issue clearance in the interest of security, okay? But when you violate them, like so, now breaching the peace, okay? They ask for the organizers them, because in fact we in England is largely is a case law driven. Mainly the Public Order Act, except where they amend that lately, but it's a case law driven. We get what you call catering. You they cater, you they hold them now one, confine them now one side no more, let them express themselves and let them disperse. Now, if they don't come out now without police clearance, which is not good by any standard, but when we hold them, we all don't know now waiting them breach, okay? If you go keep 51 suspects from McKinney, you keep them today, don't make 11 days, where the Constitution permits you for 72 hours, except where economic crime and capital offenses are involved. And we all know say riotous conduct and all them for. Now, you want tell me, say, that brutality again are other aspects. And like I say, equally bad, like the same one where police, they charge you in a court, they ask you for bail yourself, you pay money for bail na police, all that is na oppression. And then secondly, when police, they put together evidence, police, they tamper with evidence to some extent na salon. Police, they threaten. Let me give you an example. The arrest of Mohammed Kamarimba Mansari. Police have the right to investigate any crime in this country, and we support them. Now, they go call a key witness for let testify. The witness don't come, he don't testify to the best of a knowledge. He don't go home. 2 days later, then go call him back, say, you not say what you supposed for say. They arrest him, then detain him. Now they don't keep an eye on a CID. They don't bring him free town. You understand? That is all when they say police brutality. You cannot go that far as police for erode, for distort the due process, because you cannot compel a witness. You get right, otherwise he contravene the right to remain silent. They assist the court. A witness, they assist the court. You understand? If the witness, you touch your witness, you obtain witness evidence by any other force, it's inadmissible. So a whole lot of things they play. So I just want to give you say the premise where Lawyer Karim start with is the very, very right premise for the manual of international treaty obligations. And from the UDHR to the ECOWAS Charter to the international civil and political rights, to economic rights, to every right, Convention Against Torture, every international document we are signatory.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Sise. Thank you for that contribution. We will come back to Lawyer AKK White so they get to join me. AKK, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So you know you waiting Lawyer Sise say, and you don't touch on a whole lot of things there, but I want to ask you a specific incident, and possibly you might not have a knowledge about that. The reason we make it is because there was a social media video that went out. We saw how the police went to Jala University, for example, okay, at some point. I don't know whether that was last year or so, maybe you're not privy. But they went there, you know, arresting students. I don't know what they did. But even the video where they see police and they cost mommy cost, then they send stone. They pick stone, then they send the stone. So what can you say that if you go keep the peace and calm situation, they're not stone you, they're not waiting, I just watch the student the way they up the corner, I don't arrest them. So how the police went and I student them. What can you say about that first in terms of policing and law enforcement?
Firstly, because Mickey always try to talk from a legal background. The first thing, the police then gets the primary obligation to do law enforcement. That don't make them say they're untouchable. If a law enforcement officer breach in responsibility, I think the state gets an obligation for ensure say that law enforcement officer is disciplined accordingly. Now that make when the state because we can always refer to the state, because there is no way you can separate the police or the OSD or whoever from the state. They're all are state agencies. Now then the states they use for enforce law. Well, the scenario we refer to, well, I'm not privy to it, but then I was still able to analyze based on the facts where you present. Yeah. Because the only exception who they allow you for use deadly force, now who say your life to be threatening or other people their life with their stake. Other than that, there is no justification for let you use legal force. There is none. That is an established principle, Landy. Then also the fact remains that we gotta also be to make reference to the Public Order Act we are start on with. I mean, usually because this now the three people in misinterpret in this country say if for one protest are the right for let the police give me authorization. What the police gives is not authorization. You just inform them, just like what I've been saying earlier. So usually it's now that make the state get the responsibility for train. We usually people like say, oh, then police and they don't know what they do something, outline and pull them, then also be that is the responsibility of the state. Because when you did a police training school, it is a responsibility for let them tell you, say, A and B is what you should do. The danger usually, most times, we can do the lectures and I didn't train in school. Now, because some of them are way than they do, there is every tendency, say, if you go international law enforcement operation or peacekeeping, they go for measure you by that standard. And anytime you see police brutality lead to loss of life, it will go into with credibility as a state. It will hamper, it will greatly affect with standard in international in the international scene.
Right. Okay.
So now that make usually we not even see what they at stake as a nation.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much, like AKK, for that. Like as you say,
yeah.
I want to refer because you highlight a little bit of the politicizing or politics getting, interfering with law enforcement, or now they shout the independence of, the state security agents. There, there's a popular video 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago where a seasoned lawyer, somebody where people get so much respect for not the legal field and the political field, with lawyer Francis Magai. There was an extract of a video when he would able to talk to some security personnel there, and he admonished them and tell them, say, let nobody, there is no orders from above. Let nobody not come and can't tell you, say, go do this, go arrest somebody arbitrarily, or go do something where you're not supposed to do within the police conduct. Then you go do it. He made that statement as Attorney General and Minister of Justice, and he tell them, say, as individuals, you as a policeman or security agent for the state, you get personal responsibility, you'll be held accountable. So what can you say about that? Because the reason I ask you, because you touched a little bit on how politics they play into that as well. Because we still not find out yet who that they give them command there for, say, go shoot people there.
Well, you see, honestly, that's a good question. The footing way the learned senior CF Magai been start with, if we all gladly, because we feel say that was a brilliant departing point for this government had they adhered to that. Because you see, when you say would that they give order to them people there, them policemen or whosoever they go overboard. The police, I'm not going to say inadequate training. Sometimes they are well trained, they are well informed, but then just they go with the trend of the day. And the regional politics back get a long way for go. A police, not the CC in country, the security of the state, they under threat. Otherwise, but then they look and say, in your tribe, the existence of in tribe, is they under threat. So if they go arm's length for even see incumbent policeman, because they're not come up from the same region, you know, want engage with them in any battle, say, or in any operation, because you feel say, you know, go beyond waiting the plan for do. Somebody mentioned that the thread that they follow say a state of emergency. Let we mindful say a state of emergency day. If now waiting, if the rumors are they go around and correct, and like what you see police they all would they see extrajudicial beating, lynching people from the comfort of their home, doing lockdowns and torture people. Listen, the international human rights treaties, especially the Convention Against Torture, there's nothing, any state of emergency cannot abrogate torture. You right against torture. It cannot. No matter how the state of emergency day, anything where they threaten life cannot be easily abrogated by the mere existence of a state of emergency. So when somebody say, hey, we got state of emergency, anybody away from, you can do a whole lot. A state of emergency can forestall a due process. A state of emergency can distort some of the statutory process where we all got used to say because a state of emergency. But you cannot torture someone, you say because today in state of emergency. Okay. So when somebody mentioned earlier, and I tell you for free, some of these police officers, nobody know they give them the order. They just know say, what is trending right now is the bullying of the opposition. What is trending right now is oppressing civilians. What is trending right now is ruling like a military or a junta. What is trending right now, you can do whatever you want. You mentioned about the Jala incident. Universities, and not just the SLPP regime, the previous governments before the 1977 strikes and all successive governments just see students as a threat, huge threat. So anytime when students get uprising, even within the campus, then they go there with the most ferocious way and use live ammunitions for try for curb that. So if you ask me earlier, they don't have to receive orders. You just want to know what's in the trend right now. And honestly, right now, every man in uniform knows say what is trending right now is oppression. You don't have to respect people's human rights, and it's what is trending. So anytime we jump inside van for go Tombo, anytime we jump inside van for go Kono, Obo, for go do operation, he knows the order of the day. Because we not just investigate them. Some of these killings we get for commission inquest. An inquest is a process where they give culpability to all the factors, the government factors, where they give culpability to would I involve, and possibly will be followed by criminal action.
Okay, thank you.
Until we have that, but for just go investigate, say, would they go find out what happened? We all knew what happened.
Right. All right. Thank you so much, Lasise. Let's go to lawyer AKK again. You highlighted the consequences of continuous, then kind of thing where they happen, where use of excessive force, the results to death and all that thing, and the image that they portray. So, Sierra Leone, as you know, after the war, the steps there where we take, give we a position na the sub-region as well as the world as a model country where they use for peacekeeping operations and all of that. Even not just serving in the peacekeeping, but as senior officers them, around the world, not just Africa either. We they even send people and for go train as best practices and all that. So now where the past 2 years, this doesn't happen. How do you think that will impact on our country's image and we ranking now the world, and how that will affect the economic, day-to-day practice of the country as well?
Thank you very much for that question. The first thing first I establish now the fact say usually when the incident they happen, even when government say they trigger an investigation, they fail for realize say other international human rights partners, they also get their own investigation, what they do. And we see Amnesty International reports, we see human rights reports they come out every day. Then they go against the very image of a country. Remember, they say after the war, we don't get recognition, say Sierra Leone is a peaceful country, and therefore, even under the human rights aspect, we get very good scores. But however, some of them, in the way they go into the record, police brutality, it impacts we seriously, even with human rights record. And let me talk about the peacekeeping and peace operations. Because when they go out for go do peacekeeping, let assume say Sierra Leone, we send men and women for go do peace operations in other country. And then there is a law enforcement operations in that country. So the moment the police officer go now for open fire and kill people, then they go impact you very seriously. If we begin to do that at home, there is every tendency to go do them internationally. So you go find out say it will limit to chances. And the more we involve in international peacekeeping, the more you go into very credibility as a reliable nation. On the economic aspect of you don't say you get investors, you get tourists, you get other people who they come inside Sierra Leone. These are people who no one go into any arm's way. For example, if investors then be there in the recent incidents that McKinney, let's just assume they were around. And then they begin a gunshot, and then they say, oh, people don't die. The next thing when an investor, the guy say, I will not go there. Because, the police, they'll not go. There is every tendency to say when the police then go to the open fire. just like what I say, in as much as the state get responsibility for protect lives and property, but also that responsibility, the both obligation. The responsibility of the state now for ensure say the state agent, the state military or whatever agency they use for who ensure that there is a law enforcement operation. That agent for do so within the confines of the law. That agent for do so within the perimeters of the law. If you find out say it go contrary to the law, sometimes it does not only lie on the agent.
All right. We know say like AKK.
So they go to the act.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, you ensure say every state get the responsibility for ensure say the agents then follow due process. Any departure from that is the responsibility of the state. It affects you economically. It also affects you even from human rights record.
All right. Thank you so much, AKK. Well, I'll go to T-Boy for let us see if we get questions then. Waiting at the floor and possibly we'll open the phone line quick. I know say we don't keep you, it's raining in the phone and you just come out, we ambush you. So we said excessive carry this program and lawyers say we call her last minute. But now so we now what you call them civilian ambush now the ambush will not get gone. Go ahead, T-Boy.
No, they use excessive protocol force. But anyway, the platform they become very active and there are few comments and few statements and few questions. There are specific questions within direct to a few people. And one of the questions, lawyer AKK, what can you say about the Tandeba Road killings? And then somebody else say, why the police in Sierra Leone held suspects for more than 72 hours allowed when they have not committed a capital crime like murder? They will tell you they are still compiling evidence. Is that right? For them to do so? Then somebody else say, can the Sierra Leone police use water cannons in riots? And then another one say, well, the other one, they're all statements. And one of the statements say, in fact, it was not a state of emergency. It is a state of public health emergency. Can the lawyers please help us to explain what is the difference between state of emergency and state of public health emergency?
Okay.
And then another statement say, the attack on students and youth is deeply about total disregard for new ideas.
All right, well, hold on there first. Let them know.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's start first with AKK because there are a couple of direct questions to you about the parem, how it relates to the topic we will discuss today. And also, what might be the second question, T-Boy?
What's the difference between public health emergency and public health emergency and state of emergency?
Okay. All right. So we left that two questions for lawyer AKK. Then the other two you will repeat them again for lawyer CC later. Go ahead. AKK.
Yeah, let me start with the latter. Whether it's state of public health emergency or state of emergency, it's the same. Just that you get the Constitution make provision, the circumstances under which the president get the power for declare a state of emergency. One, either there is a breakdown in law or as a result of armed conflict, as a result of a pandemic, the factors then they. So this one, the reason why the president declared as a result of COVID-19. So it's a state of emergency. Whether it's public health, because the emergency came around about as a result of the pandemic. So therefore, that make them declare. However, John, like I think my colleague mentioned earlier, say there are certain rights where you go derogate from them, no matter which kind emergency they. So the idea that in fact they suspend the Constitution when there is a state of emergency, that idea is not correct. The only thing that the government get the responsibility for issue regulations by which certain things then they do or they never do. For example, now that will be the difficulty for enforce the issue of the use of face mask. There is no legal basis for arrest somebody who will not use face mask until there is a regulation we go show say if somebody not use face mask, you go fine them or you go lock them. Now that make when you see the police and asleep, they will tell you say if you not get face mask, buy them. But if you get regulations, we get lay down principle, we go tell you say for use face mask, you not use them. If they catch you, then they fine you. And also there are fundamental rights where they no matter what they cannot. It mentioned the torture. torture than is kind of separate offense than the every state gets the responsibility under international law call an obligation erga omnes. An erga omnes obligation, this is an obligation that cannot go away no matter what, the torture person. That is the highest form. I mean, there is nothing where they derogate from that. Apart from that, for example, you can disturb somebody in freedom of movement a bit, like during the lockdown, the restrictions, that is justifiable at times because you go say, then go say, okay, if you move, corona is spread. Those are things you can. But there are certain things, for example, when you enforce lockdown, because we saw several cases in which people in the ground will say during lockdown there was excess use of force. Under those circumstances, then there could be a breach depending on the nature of the use of force. Now that make anytime a state agent they use force, it therefore be proportional to the action. You don't go, for example, you see two people in map, then they shout, then you go take AK-47. You begin spray all around. There is one, if they kill the person, and two, there is a tendency that another person will innocent will be affected. And then also the issue on the Pademba Road, that's also not be a law enforcement operation. Because according to what we know, what we say, there was a riot within the prison and therefore the police then come in. There is no difference to that topic to what we discussed today. That is also a law enforcement operation. But however, we notice that there were fatalities, many people then die. That is a clear example for examining whether the use of force being proportionate. Now these are prison people and they behind bars. We therefore determine firstly whether then they get the proclivity for even put the lives of the other people them at risk or the lives of the law enforcement agents them at risk. Then also, now that make usually, apart from state responsibility for investigate, they forget unfettered access to even international organizations, therefore can do the independent inquiry for find out what are the cause. The reason being that there were lots of lives and we need to understand what lead to that one and they waiting for do next for let them see and they not happen. And remember also, say individual they also get recourse for take certain steps. For example, Mr. Sise, my colleague they talk say sometimes they can request for an inquest. There are several things we can come in after law enforcement operations.
Okay, thank you so much on that. I'll go to Mr. Sise for letting himself highlight on the questions. Them, T-Boy, what are the other questions? Them, or Mr. Sise, you be the right end on, right?
No, I've been that this last question that we. Answer. Okay. But any question with David T-Boy write down with?
Well, there are 2 more questions apart from the 2 questions we lawyer Kuma don't answer. So I don't know if you want to make a repeat lawyer Kuma question there or make I give you 2 questions they don't come in.
Give me the 2 and they don't come in.
Okay, the one they say, are the police allowed to drink on duty? Very important. And the second one is also one that I was thinking about. And the question where the person say now, why are the police not being prosecuted? My question to back that up is, has there ever been a point in Sierra Leone that any law enforcement officer has been prosecuted for any crime that they have committed?
Yes, the first question, police code of conduct, of course, you cannot consume alcohol on duty. They no say that is a fact. You cannot, okay? But I don't want for delving into that. You cannot use that as a defense, even if you drink on duty, if that is what you're trying to allude. Yes, there's been a precedent whereby police officers in the past, we then don't hold them responsible, especially the Bumbuna incident. I was with a human rights organization who been petitioned for let them investigate and even suspend. So the police complaint board suspend the officer in meantime while the investigation they go on, and the police claims in an automatic discharge. Okay, at least they have the decency to come up with a defense. Okay. Unlike the recent happenings, no police officer can tell me now, say, hey, now because of this, because we all know, I mean, the rules of engagement simply call, say, there must be a probable cause to believe that the suspect poses significant threat of death or serious physical injury to the officer before he discharge arm. Okay? So, in the absence of that defense, even that, it get for be proportionate, like what me colleague say earlier. It get for be proportionate. But you not sure we say you fire because this boy old cutlass, or then be they fire, they self get weapon. You not even saying an accidental discharge. Nobody. We don't know nothing what happened. 5, 6 people died, McKinney shooting, Panemba 031. The report we had was about 3 pages. And that is just a redact of, in fact, it is the version of the prison's eyewitness than a report. When you do a report of this magnitude, professionals and therefore involved. You get for bring in experts them way, and they get for be independent. You get for bring in people them way, at least human rights. We have a human rights commission, and we get independent human rights organizations in the country. May them come up with a report, because listen, we get a whole lot of issues them way, Aki always. But part 3, and I think part 3, volume 2 or 3, if I quote and right, of the report, the TRC report, it also highlights them same issues here for largely responsible for the war. And we don't even go beyond waiting the TRC highlights saying that the possible causes of with 10-year civil war. We don't go beyond that. The things that happen with the TRC, they spent almost 15 months in Sierra Leone doing research for come up with a document. Okay, now the police in the past, we don't see a police officer with ammunition. Chief man then go old police officer say involved in other activities. We not to just riotous conduct. Precedents they back, they don't police and jail, they don't arrest and jail a police officer. Okay, we don't see the reason why then they discharge police officers now the core, now the force. They're so trivial, unbelievable. And a police officer they kill somebody without a reason, without explaining proper how he employed the code of conduct, and he still they proudly wear a uniform. In fact, they even promote her. And then you then a police officer, if you keep you superior, you junior a woman, now the army or the police, now immediate dismissal. But you can kill someone, it's okay. But you cannot date, you cannot keep somebody. You understand? So the reason why the police then we don't see them fire almost 17 officers, some of them under the age of retirement. The reason they cited, we're not happy with your service, or we don't trust you. You understand? They think you're subverting. Okay? So yes, T-boy, officers in the past, and officers they can be culpable. They can hold them for this. They can even look, for instance, what is happening today. If we can borrow a model, it's a pity they are in jurisdiction and are experts on that. But let's just say America, for instance, the killing of Floyd. You know, right now the police officer outside they strip him off, they sack him, a grand jury see them, they say they criminalizing conduct. Now they face trial. Okay. And we have the same law. We borrowed our laws from here. Yes, if policeman do any other thing, they face prosecution.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much. And lawyer AKK.
Yes.
So what do you think? Say, from a legal point and as well as a Sierra Leonean, what do you think saying are the missing link? Why make this thing they continue? The reason I'm asking, because like you both highlighted, when a situation happen, you go back, whether your response was, get people and die or they not die, but you go back and do post-mortem, reassess how the operations go for learn something from them later. And the person when the lead, either sergeant or whoever get for do a report on how that's what it's supposed for run. But the reason I ask, if the same thing don't happen for Storm Kolimba, Pademba Road, Tombo, Lonsar, then now McKinney, and all systematically people and they die more than one person, at least they die in the incident, then they end up arrest some people who they consider as people and perpetrators of the rioters' conduct or whatever. What do you think? Where do you think the missing link is?
Well, thank you very much. The missing link has been to implement the report. Because usually when the incident and they happen, like you always tell you, so we're going to investigate, we're going to do this, but nothing they happen. Yeah. Not like when Mr. Cisse, they set an example to George Floyd the incident. You know, police officers are not immune from prosecution, especially when substantial evidence say then do some things beyond the scope of their authority. Like what happened in America, that was not, I mean, a way for letting them deal with George Floyd. I mean, be clearly harmless, then press the next day, die, will not be defenseless. So these are similar things that are happening around, even in our cases today. And the essence of their investigations, and they not to satisfy people say we conduct investigation. No. Now for let people know the cause. And then let them know what are the necessary action we will be taking. The danger about anything we normally can do them and neglect them. Now that these are things where they ferment, and then we will reach a particular point, just now, we will go out of control. That is what we do not want to see. Now that make them say sometimes injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. If they conduct their investigations there, they're able to identify the problem. There, for example, if a particular commander then tell you say go execute a function and sure say this come out this way where they want, then go find out say it go beyond the scope of your authority. I mean, then a clear grounds for letting wholly culpable. Minister Cisse, they make some analogy. For example, in the police code, say they keep you superior, or military code, they keep you superior and why they go discharge you. What thing will prevent you from when you unlawfully take somebody's life, who they not go dismiss you or even you face trial. Nothing can stop that. So what thing they say now that all the investigations in the world they conduct, I mean they come out with results say, okay, this person not supposed to do so. This person will kill this person, this, then begin take action. We believe say definitely some of them things they are not go happen. The danger about these things happening, sometimes we might take, we will take a lightly. But then in international atmosphere, I mean, with credibility itself is being damaged. And then secondly, there is every tendency to say they undermine the peace and security. We know they talk this because we say, okay, everything they go to the police officers. Well, we can understand. Ordinary civilians themselves sometimes they can reach a particular point, we can get the tendency to go overboard. Now that make law enforcement agencies then they. But when they try for talking like that. If you let enforcement in all day, time for can restore law and order. You don't go do them because you carry gun as you reach to shoot to begin kill people. Not also the law say. Now that make they give you several steps where you for take. For example, if people then begin gathered in the area to tell them say disperse, or tell them say we're not supposed to come, or the other to the extreme use water or any other thing will not go cause harm, will disproportionate to the very act itself where they try to prevent. That in itself is unlawful.
Right. Thank you so much. Because we mentioned all that, I see like the Tombo incident, for example, when you watch the live videos, what you they talk. So if that was what the police and the military then been do force, possibly they're not for the result to the loss of lives or injuries, and even security personnel then been gets badly injured on their way to their operations. Because I see later on where the military go and get a megaphone and they announce, una go inside, una come on a bush, una come. People were responsive. You know, you get community elders and they're able to go pull people away for can talk. I know say every police station or every security post able for know the demographic of that what you call and that community where they serve. They know the people who are troublemaker, they know the people who are influencers them. Where then go able for go hold that part of community policing as well. You get people who go talk to able for pull people. But and the reason I mentioned the the Tombo incident, some of the people that died of bullet wounds, not some people away even they not treat. Like the other woman, it inside us that they gunshot go meet up, it die. So, like we are saying, in the process of using excessive force, possibly an innocent person lost his life. Anyway, so if you have for call +4478 41423752, we come to the end of the program shortly. We can get for let lawyer AKK self go. But over to you, lawyer SSA.
The missing link. You asked me, lawyer AKK, about the missing link. Well, let me tell you the missing link, my version of the missing link, okay? My brother, I'll say this with no hesitation. The overwhelming majority of citizens are of the view that the Sierra Leone police is overly subservient to successive political regimes. And this brings into sharp focus the credibility of the adage, force for good. I mean, if Nabi asked me earlier, this program before say whether the police have lived up to their expectation or their adage, force for good. But that is more, but what is more disconcerting to me, and it strains credulity to see citizens lending credence to a form of punishment that they personally detest and vehemently condemn in their respective abode, particularly those of us residing in developing countries. I've seen Twitters, Facebook, social media, people then they endorse waiting the police then they do na salon. Hey, they don't pass mark. Hey, let them do their so. And when it happens in China, when this happens in China, we in China, people then they say, why then they treat black man so? How then they treat black man like animal? And then we own, then South Africa as well. And we own country. So as I said earlier, it strains credulity to see people from the diaspora we know they even tolerate half of that, even stop and search. Even the stop and search, the pace, the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, we just amend, brings so much fire past where the legislator and they stop and search. People can't even encourage stop and search in the UK. But when they're all in company at it, one does in openly, we put without care and go any side. I mean, how can we tolerate corporal punishment in this day and age? That's alone. Then within the social media, because it's my political party in power, or because I hate someone else, and then I take them up to me view say, then for go punish. So now we ask me the missing link, the attitude of all Sierra Leonean, all Sierra Leoneans need to change. We go for look and say, now we taxpayer money them people they work with. Regardless of what happen, let us look things on two way. Why not saying what happened in McKinney? The government has the right to relocate a decade-old generator wherever they deem fit. That is uncontroverted. But what I will not condone is hoisting AK-47 in the directions of harmless citizens who are in their respective homes, obeying the curfew, and open fire upon them when they're in their respective abode, inside their house, and aim back and fire them, and then you still want to say they took to the streets on the riot. Okay, let us see. Even when they took to the streets, okay, they don't stay curfew, they don't go inside. Then we see social media, they see police, they open fire. And for God's sake, why are we having military officers who are not trained in controlling crowd out there for cover riots?
Right, hold on there on that question, there, sir. We have a caller on the line. Hello, caller.
Yes. Hello. Yes. Hello. Good evening.
Yeah. Good evening. Say your name and who say the call from, and not wait for yourself now the live because it is 20 seconds behind. So continue with the review.
All right. No problem. Well, good evening. Nayusi Fujalo, the call from London, of course. Oh. And thank you. Very, very, very interesting program, of course. And I'm so glad that the SIDOMFO addressed this very, very important issue. And one of us, thank you, the two lawyers then were there on board. I'm talking about this issue. Now, with everything, with what's going to go on, we always get for understand for say the young people them na the future of the country. They say if you orange not the BLM, if for now what we will teach the young people them now violence, that we're not able to sit down and get discussions with them, engage them in dialogue, for show them how they can solve issues without violence. But instead, quick the police they don't pull gun for shoot, quick the army don't pull gun for shoot or kill or beat people them. No wonder today the only thing we keep with government alert and keep the 100 trillion alert. Now we Adebayo begin for cost mami cost. Now some people not go let because they cost mami cost, but Adebayo is a direct product of this kind of injustice and this kind of violence. So the young people where they grew up, all they know now either for cost mami cost or for grab and fed because of this. So, but I also want to point that it's totally disheartening that we president who is considered the papa of the nation, you as papa, you picking them, then they shoot them, then they kill them na street. You, papa, no kidnap and even give one syllable before I say one word in defense of you picking them, or for go find out what thing happen. No, well, they don't kill me picking today. Not one word. Instead, what we see on social media now, then they go na farm, then they go smile. To me, it's a total insult. What kind of message then it send to the young people then that they don't care? So let we do anything what we want. And let remember, now these same young people then they go join army, then they go join police. So all they know now the brutality and the violence. Further, I will put finally, the final point is this: the killings will happen at Pademba Road. The lie will come up BND. Up till this point, we don't know who side them bury them people, then they pass them and they will go put in a talk, then go bury them. These people then get relatives. I know personally what it can like when you lose your daddy or you lose your family, you don't know who side them there in body. I suffered that for over 25 years. I know the pain. Me lucky are able for family for overcome that trauma day. What about the other people we're not able to overcome that trauma day? Who swamp on them where it will take one somebody will just say, go fight war. Boom, then they take war, then they take army, then they take ammunition for go fight. What you need is simply tell we papa of we nation. Make a understand for say if they not enough for talk and address these issues them properly. Because not even a condolence on the next day, not even a condolence for the people who will lose them taking their life that day. This lack of empathy, this lack of understanding where they will deal with from the leadership right across, go down to the law enforcement. And I dare say, I'm not for say lawyers and there too, but I dare say even within the law within the law courts, this that seed with the soul for tomorrow Nambara.
Thank you
remember
so
say
much.
Okay. I just want to put on the last one.
Yeah, go ahead, quick.
All right. I just want for last one for say, let remember say the war we face so it begins 1967. It takes long to push out with the war. Now other one with the so again so. I hope that we will sort this out soon.
Thank you, Yusuf Jallo, and thank you for boldly sharing that personal experience, and for letting you bring that home. Say this is not just what's on paper, but now waiting people in the field. Anybody we lost in person in no side and go bury them, whether a prisoner or not, it's something that will haunt that person for life. That trauma they go do that person day. Is there another call, Mr. Palmer? All right, while we wait for another call, Lawyer AKK, are you there, sir?
Yes, I get you.
Yes.
Don't let me video feed girl for day off because the location where they bit dark and they tell for move on. You know, say I not been there. I also start the program.
I understand. Now make us say we ambush you.
Yes, yes.
All right, so you don't agree with in the last caller say, and the questions them already kind of the group as well. You know, they relate to the same issues, and they ask why the individuals them are not prosecuted. Why, you know? Okay, let's come to this now. Now we say the what do you call it? The police supposed to be independent for guide even the government in case they want for step out of bounds. Let alone now then they go take command. The picture that we saw in McKinney was so graphic. The last time we see them kind regalia than they, if I will call them either a Rambo film or during the war. Because during the war we did it, we see everything. So for see that during a democratic dispensation wherein you get a democratic rule, there's a riot, something like that happen. If you had to advise today, because somebody like you give me hope for Sierra Leone, lawyer AKK, not because you're on this program, but we've dealt a lot, and I know you stand in human rights, upholding human rights and justice for people. If you are to advise government or, you know, the leadership, now the police, the military, what would be your advice?
Thank you very much for this question. One principle I want to establish now the fact say, as a police officer, the primary responsibility first now for go protect civilians, innocent people. That's your primary responsibility. Not to for go defend government. That is not your responsibility. The reason why normally the incident can happen and can send police, that for let them go ensure say there is law and order for go restore peace. Otherwise, if the police are not good, the situation will degenerate. But if the police they go for go enforce law and order, you go the primary motive for go even kill the person where they say they go for go protect. That in itself is something we may not understand at all. Because the primary responsibility I want to take oath from the things that we say, you say promise for.
All right, Lord, then
they promise for uphold the rule of law. If I the advice, hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello? Yeah, so if I the advise government or whosoever is in authority, the first thing we they establish now that now we try for reform with law enforcement agency. Now we reform them. The reason is that somebody mentioned there earlier, I think that Mr. say, the way politicians they use the police as an instrument of oppression. That will for discourage them at all. There was one instance where I've been there sometime where somebody tell me say, because there was one police go for go arrest or intimidate, somebody tell me say, oh, that police, even that other system where within government, the person self will go arrest, they also direct them for go arrest another person. That is the disadvantage. If we continue for use the law enforcement agent as an instrument of oppression, and they come back for hunt you tomorrow. So that is why we need for ensure say the law enforcement agencies they're as neutral as possible. Try as best as possible for ensure say then get adequate training. Otherwise, it will come back to haunt you someday. That is the danger about it. Because you know monkey no go left in black hand. If they're in that kind of way they send them for international peacekeeping, definitely then they go repeat everything more than they do now. Okay. For us, we try for say the police is a force for good.
Hold on, let me stop.
Yes.
To get a caller, just one moment, I'll make it continue. Go ahead, caller. Good evening or good afternoon. You name and you question.
Hello, good
or comment quick.
Hello, good afternoon. To Mina Jamal Jallo, Ade Columbus, Ohio.
Hello, Mr. Jallo. Go ahead, sir. We'll hear you, your question or your comment, sir.
Yes, sir. I have a question for we distinguished lawyers who we get not make. Like you, Mr. Juma, I just want to know if, or me, I get the right or the power for take the police officer or the commander who issue the order for let the police and shoot me people in a McKinney. I get the right or the power for take them across. I don't know what the salon law say about that.
Okay, thank you so much for that brief question. There we go to I will make lawyer AKK continue, and then lawyer Sise go follow through on that, because I get another question for lawyer Sise. Go ahead, lawyer AKK.
Yes, hello, you get me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, you waiting the caller ask?
No, please repeat that question again. I've been a bit break. Just summarize the question,
So the caller say they call from Columbus, Ohio, in a Sierra Leonean, a common McKinney or in people in the McKinney. As a citizen, the Salon law or any law permit them for take the person will give the command or order for let them shoot and kill in people them. As a Sierra Leonean, it gets right for waiting the law say about that.
Yes, I've been to discuss this with a colleague, and there was a time after this incident we discussed the issue of the use of force in law enforcement, whether states then get the obligation. You remember at the start of the program, I refer you to General Comment number 3 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. We also get international legal instruments which prohibit excessive use of force, especially if it's unjustifiable. And we don't see case laws. There are several case laws where individuals and they bring complaints now the African Human Rights Commission for cases in which the people then die as a result of excess use of force. Of course, you get the right. And then the person asked me, he said, what is the procedure? I tell him clearly, say, firstly, you get the preliminary step you get for take, say, you get for exhaust domestic remedy. For example, you get for submitting complaint to internal law enforcement mechanisms first in Sierra Leone within your jurisdiction before you go to now the Human Rights Commission. But however, what's how you feel say it's not possible for let you get justice even within the state where you do, you can use that as justification for go direct for go make a complaint now international mechanisms. For example, most of the laws and international treaties will prohibit excess use of force, they're not domesticate them. And therefore we courts they're not going to adjudicate on those things. So you cannot say except I can we court for seek redress before I go use international mechanism. No. In that circumstance, they will excuse you for letting able approach the international mechanism for seek redress. And we don't see several cases, Latin America, East Africa, even in Nigeria, they don't take government to court where the people and believe say the state agents them. Because the reason why they can take the state, now because now you agents them. Now you they send, they presume say they are part of the state. Now they use for enforce law. If you then do anything beyond the scope of the authority, then the state can be held liable. And usually they can order for reparations, they can order several things that the Human Rights Commission can order. They can also guide the police in future conduct. They can also tell the state, say, in future do X, Y, Z. And then by that, people then can get justice. There is a way.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I will follow through on that question there to Mr. Cisse, Lawyer Cisse. I want to ask the question in another way. Then kind case here, or then kind issue there, that case the way they wrote it, meaning he commits the crime today, 5 years, 10 years down the line. Is it something that people will just forget about, or they're not going for trial, or that's something who can hunt somebody back legally?
No, short answer to your question. You see, just as the colleague been said, the international human rights law, especially in criminal aspect, international criminal law, it operates on the theory of complementarity. In other words, that they only prosecute where state operative or state party or member state fail for prosecute or unwilling for prosecute, okay? And as you don't need for exhaust domestic remedies, but you for attempt domestic remedies. You for at least go to the police complaint board. You for at least go try for see who's which you go able get domestic wise. And we all know saying a dead end, just like waiting. Mr. Kromasi, some of the laws there, because they're not domesticate them, they're not put in our local laws as alone, and can get a big hurdle for prosecute them. So then you can go straight to the process, especially where human rights concern, like the ECOWAS court. You can go there and go seek human rights, especially when they deprive you of a key fundamental rights because the three main intervention International Criminal Court now, the inhumane treatment when you deprive somebody in life, when you torture somebody, most of these crimes fall under the criminal umbrella of the ICC. So because the ICC, they're not able to investigate the crimes here when the regime, perhaps the regime where the operator them, then commits them. When, because the regime then cannot investigate, so they can shelve them, they can put you dockets until they get a conducive atmosphere. Like what happened now in Sudan, Al-Bashir. Al-Bashir, it get one of the longest indictments with the ICC indictor. And the ICC indictment gets a 3-limb. Whether the Security Council indicts you, whether the Office of the Prosecutor indicts you, or whether member state indicts you. So Al-Bashir, they be not indict America, be not indict them, but they cannot access them, of course. They cannot investigate them. So they keep in dockets. In prodigy them, in military killers them, all in government, in operatives them, then keep them file. Now, what happen when they hold them, now the indictments don't open back. Now the ICC don't request for let them go and cancel. So whosoever will commit crime now, I just want to tell you, some of these crimes fall within the criminal aspect of international law or human rights. And once it fall within, like inhumane treatment, torture, and all the other category of crimes will fall under the criminal aspect of international law, they're not the rotten. You understand? So if you commit crime now, you feel sad, they go home and sleep, just take Al-Bashir in case Sudan as a case in point.
Okay, thank you so much on that. Well, I think say we don't try today, we're not able to exhaust this topic. We will get for come back to now, but before we go, we will get we panelists them for say the last word for round things up for we, and then we go round up the program. Go ahead, Mr. AKK. Are you there, sir?
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead.
As a way of last word, I know see one of the primary reasons why we choose this topic now because of the fact that the issue of excess use of force by law enforcement agencies don't become worrying because we don't see several cases where the use of force can result to fatalities, people and they die, and that is very disturbing. So therefore, we hope say the one that will listen, especially those in authority,
forgive me, sir. I mean, they say we go, but there's a call hunting us, so I want to take that last caller, please.
All right, okay.
Hello, caller.
Hello, good afternoon. Aziz.
Yeah, good afternoon. Say your name and your question or your comment. Speak a little bit louder, and you no need for wait for your
afternoon. Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Aziz Toure, and my comment is now on the use of force. The problem we get in the area of using of force within law enforcement officers, the new way they talk as the police, and as the learned lawyer say, first thing about the police for save lives and protect properties. But unfortunately, what you see alone today, now the reverse. And we know the forces then get a slogan for say AGIP, AGIP. Any government in power na in them in day for serve. But today na the reverse. Would they serve a particular government, whether anybody wants to say am or not. It's difficult for make the whole police officer responsible for certain things na saloon because of one legislation where they allow the use of discretion, and the use of discretion so broad na saloon that you not get limits. They probably they will go find out and tell me if the use of discretion get limit, because police can just stop you. It tell you say at the inviting a station, why? Now my discretion at the use. And nothing not the way to stop her for making use that. The use of discretion is so broad that it extends to a point where if they're not examiner, repeal and bring in legislation for make them moderate them, it will always go from the lowest point to the most escalating point for make police officer react. From protest, we get continuum of of force. But where the situation arises, it can change them in a split second. But it not necessarily means in the changing needs of in a split second, it will just result for shoot people them. Follow the continuum. But at the end of the day, they will tell you, say, I use my discretion based on the situation we have been faced. And trust me, maybe we learned lawyers and will dig more, but from the small one we may see, it's not easy and nothing say legislation day we allow you na salon for make you sue the police force and succeed in it. If we did, do I make the help we? I just want to make a contribution. Thank you.
Wonderful, Aziz Toure for calling. Of course, now man we don't serve now both forces them. So next time we try for go friend. I don't know if I've been there. I don't discuss this topic, but I have for go friend since you don't can't. You will not hide again.
I just joined the program. Sorry, I just joined the program 5 minutes ago, so I don't even know what I'm at.
Next time after the program, I will call you. We'll go for continue this conversation, sir. Now go to AKK. AKK, continue. You round up and possibly one for touch a little bit on that last caller.
Yeah, let just touch on briefly before I do me summing up.
Yes.
It is an issue we be very worrying. The issue of discretion. Let's just give a practical example where some of you don't face with respect to bail. Before the bail and sentencing guidelines, we don't turn to a law now. And when you get a client where they appear before a magistrate, especially for them criminal offenses, and the moment you appear, you go make an application for bail. And the law say the magistrate or judge may, so meaning you get discretion for grant or refuse bail. Even a case where somebody just go no more is substitute, the minor public other offenses they will say they for grant bail. The magistrate can tell you say discretion and then they exercise that in your favor. So as a result of clarion calls, now that make them count the bail and sentencing guidelines. And I also feel say with respect to the police, they need for come with guidelines as to how the police they exercise that discretion. Because that in a blanket. Yeah. Until you get a legislation where they tell you exactly the guidelines, the circumstances under which they refuse to do certain things or they do certain things. The issue of suing the police, that is as difficult as not even attempting it. Because usually we can get issues where we can go enforce judgment, where we can say, okay, the IG can get issues. We don't attempt to sue the IG, or even sue this police. Sometimes it can be very difficult. And then, because you're not going to dissociate the police from the government or the state, sometimes you get stumbling block from the State Proceedings Act. And then if you look at even the Police Act itself, it provides more of internal mechanisms within the police than an external person trying to sue a police officer. So that is the point. Then coming back to me summing up, I feel say this is a very important topic of discussion because now we begin to see suicide. Sometimes law enforcement they lead to 1 death, 2 deaths. Pandemba Road, it's more than 20 or 30. McKinney is
Hello, sir. Continue.
It's 5. You don't know where you're going tomorrow. Let's get an obligation for ensure say the state agents then train them and also then tell them what they need to do. And investigations will arise after the use of force. We for ensure say we follow the recommendations and they to the latter. Police officers are not immune from prosecution, especially in cases where they act outside their limits. Now ensure say anybody will found culpable will go use unnecessary use of force beyond the prescribed nature of the law and you commit any offense, you should be dealt with. Otherwise, tomorrow you will argue with police officer and go on and give power. Yeah. You don't get anything for say. So until we begin to take next steps there, it's becoming worrying.
All right. Thank you so much, AKK, for that summary. And just know, say, like we say, we'll not exhaust this topic here to get for go and bush you again for come. So to we regular and we own brother lawyer Cisse, please, you know, you said we possibly want for touch on that last caller in question or comment, but again, in your summary, I want for because you the double as well. You now a politician too, right? Yes. So what can you advise colleague or fellow politicians, whether seasoned, upcoming or aspiring politicians, about interfering with law enforcement with a result to the loss of lives? Innocent people, then they die.
Well,
touch on those.
I just want advise or remind colleague politicians and the counterparts them about their secret duty where they take the oath of affirmation where they take for uphold the Constitution of Sierra Leone. But I will renege tonight if I fail to send a message to His Excellency the President. And I am following the thread keenly, and I'm quite sure that state operatives and people that are close to His Excellency are currently watching this program. Now, I've read the reports, the Pandemba Road massacre reports, and I can tell you that it is riddled with logical and legal inconsistencies. But on behalf of the vast majority of well-meaning Sierra Leoneans and the victims, we, the people of Sierra Leone, respectfully request His Excellency the President Bio's protection under the law. We further demand that state operatives desist from using excessive force over civilians. May I respectfully remind state operatives that the international or the applicable law or standard of proof as to prosecution by state actors is those who bears the greatest responsibility. In the future, I earlier on mentioned about the president, the Omar al-Bashir current president. I am saying state operatives may not go blameless in the end, because there are compelling evidence to suggest a failure by the states to make protection available to the ill treatment of violence, to the ill treatment or violence which have been suffered at the hands of the police and the military in McKinney. So please, they ask, we authority them, we they beg for the protection of the people and the peace of Sierra Leone. Perhaps most of these atrocities may not be sanctioned by the president or by the executive, but failure to act, sometimes silence can be construed as conspiracy. We no go see them and see this thing they unfold in our country. We citizens, we obscured. I have seen some of my colleagues who are politically possessed. They cannot say the truth right now. They cannot say the truth when they see one. I don't know this thing where they happen with us and politics these days. And they beg, admonish we colleagues them. So let me just put we country. You can alternate. Like when somebody can say, he say Monday and Tuesdays and Wednesday, just give 3 days to salon, 4 days to a political party. It will work. Just be honest, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays. The rest of the days you can get back to a political party. But people are politically possessed 24/7. We're not going able to say the truth. So they actually colleagues them in both spectrum, not just the APC, SLPP, everywhere. So let we know say, we know they look at from a divine angle, and sometimes, but as a devout Muslim, I will renege if I not bring me divine inclination into this. Let me know say we get for die and meet the Lord. God will make our way, create we. Whatever we do today might haunt we tomorrow. It might come back to we tomorrow and haunt we. So please, I dey beg. I know say Boku people in there right now where they say, and it is reasonably expected that some fundamental loyalists of this current regime or whatever and social media vigilantes will attempt to rebut this piece. They will advance arguments aiming at exonerating the president. The president, no. Yes, we know. I just said it. But before you injudiciously arrive at a conclusion, may I respectfully remind you that democracy is the process by which people choose the man who will get the blame. Like our American man then say, the buck stops with the president.
Yeah.
So do ya I beg for say the president no, this pan no, then just say get a bad name. It might not be tenable in other avenues. So do ya I beg let the people of Sierra Leone, let we they look things from a different angle. When the minister make those utterances, now McKinney say they will shoot and kill anybody who go riot us with this. Well, man, even the president was not happy. He suspended them because why? He thought the utterances were uncalled for and a threat to security. He suspended them. He only reinstated a few weeks later, and exactly what the minister say, they implement her. So you see the necessity for make a deterrent. In see why we debate His Excellency the President from put in like how he suspend that minister. If he open an inquest on what happened in McKinney and bring people into book, so God in this day, he not go put food on the table for the loved ones and people that we lost them picking, but at least they send a message say we're getting there, and that is all we ask for. And I don't think it's too much to ask for. So please, they ask again. Let us have answers. Let us not make people go thrive with impunity. Because in the end, there is an international criminal court awaits us. We are a member state. Member state meaning we as a people, we as members can actually bring an action against we leaders them. The office of the prosecutor back can come and say, I'm not happy. Himself can bring an action. He can indict you. The UN Security Council can look, say, you turn your weapon, resolution 1670. I'm not sure I got the number right, but they used the resolution against Gaddafi, saying he turned a weapon against his people. How long must you kill before that resolution come? United Nations do not ascribe a number to the amount of people you must kill. They can do it anytime, any hour, any morning. If not lie, it is now under scrutiny for the Ethiopian riot massacre. So evoke that similar Libya-style resolution on the president of Ethiopia.
Right.
We don't need that in our country. We don't want that. What the worst thing we would like is we voted the president democratically. We want him to exit by the ballot box. So please, let us be mindful and praise the president. And because now we turn to, we have justice. And the people in McKinney get justice.
All right, thank you so much, Lawyer Sise. As always, we appreciate you. We learn from you, and definitely they inspire more people. And you've been a voice for the people. So before me do me rounding up statement, I go to Sylvester Dugba. We don't monitor the chat. We'll not get a better time for go the under again. But I want to go to I'm letting tell we laying round up, give we round up statements. Then Femi Palmer. Then I will round up.
Me just want to say thank you once more to the panelists and Mr. Sise. I think he'd automatically become the resident host. One of I see with the grab so the
I can't take them from Dr. Iskandri. I can't take them from Dr. Iskandri.
No, Dr. Iskandri is designated for specific legal issue for the people's lawyer. So you get
one of topics are a bit to be that are skewed to the left and radicalism is Dr. Wascales, yes.
But anyway, thank you very much for bringing you on board in such short notice. But at the same time, we appreciate you and Mr. Akoma again for bringing you, take you off your guard. The guy you come on at your office. We don't even say like you overtake no more. No one will go be. See now we forgot representing our country tomorrow them for against business. But never mind, we don't for me to do that. They would say for care you go to one corner because the amount of time where you tell me say Usa you there and Usa you do go. We don't even forget you today. But at least you do very well. for cut you join short and host yourself somewhere where you're able for participate in this program. We appreciate you so much. And just like Juma said, we get a lot more for bringing you on board with, because the issues that already happen at Salone, they are more of legal and personal and national issues. The way I feel to say, we always get for talk about them, but not to just do no more. We go stop. We will also bring on social issues the way they affect we communities, them inside Sierra Leone and out of Sierra Leone, and we get a lot more for talk about and for bring toner. But today's topic now, one of the very few that we get so much concern about, namely could be and come today, specifically on the use of what we want to talk about when the law enforcement. Mr. Sise earlier once say, is it the force of good or force for good?
For good. Well, the adage.
The force for good now a whole now very old slogan, and that slogan they are not to say it take effect right now. Now make we coin them the other way around, because when you say force of good, now 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, because nobody they think about this short period of time. They'll take it back 20, 30, 40 years. And what's in the affects we in Sierra Leone mostly, now the fact say things not they improve for the better. They get worse and worse and worse. So we can't sit by and they say, God go make changes happen. It will happen one day. The one day now, when we go to die, or now when we are alive, or now we raise grandpicking or we grandpicking them. So we don't know. But for as long as we are alive now, look, we begin to for effect some of these changes them. Look, we not wait for, look, we always the 90% behind when the world the 110% forward. So to me, I feel say with the help of technology, with the help of internet, with the help of intervention of new models of operations, it make things then they become very clear to the outside world for the layman for see and know exactly what's in the happen at any corner of the world, because we get the means of cameras and now we capture every single aspect of what's in the happen. So before you can tell me, the evidence already don't go the under. So it left now to honor the law practitioners them for see what in the law say and what in the law not say, for execute certain of them things that also really go against civilians, really go against politicians, really go against leaders, and really go against the normal populace, whether then they right or then they on the wrong part. So now una get for interpret that law to we. And as we clearly know, the law in every country is down to the interpretation of it always they in favor of how you want for coin them, or it against to somebody where you want for coin them against. So let we left all landing at the hands of Una, but not also forgetting that God self gets enrolled where in the play on all the things where they happen. We can always say God's time is the best. And when God's times becomes the best, He always not get for the in your favor, regardless your status, regardless your position, regardless the opportunity that we get for take advantage of everything really in front of you right now, because He will always come back and hunt you. So we just say thank you to viewers, then thank you to the panelists, then thank you to the people who are going at the chat, and it's been a very calm chat room today. Everything is happening right. Lots of comments being said. We just still encourage you for continue for make phone calls. We just still encourage you for throw questions them, because some of the questions then they really come up from Una, the people in the chat room. We not go able for answer them. We not go able for ask all them questions. That's why the chat room is there. It's very important thing that they communicate with each other and that they interact with each other, but we also get for come up with questions that we will be able to throw to the panelists them, but keep them active, because we know for the go nobody ask them questions the way we nobody puts together. We also need our inputs. That's why we have the chat room, so that your input should also be part of the conversation, because with our inputs it will make the conversation widen and it will give you a wider audience and platform for like everybody's view will be heard. We not for say, oh, well, we don't get too much questions, we don't get time again, we don't exhaust all the time we'll get. The time is there for you guys. Sometimes we can overrun, sometimes we can underrun. But one for make the discussion very participating for everybody. So Mr. Ba, I will say thank you to all once more. And next time, not put me in a corner for can be asking what's going
once more before we left. I just want I just want apologize for the unavoidable absence of Milaned senior lawyer Kaloko.
Yeah.
He just text say he been caught up with heavy traffic now.
Yeah.
The beltway, and he'll be able to miscalculate the timing. So I want to I don't see another flyer. So, but he promised for come back next time. As you say, that one of the leading authority in all aspects of law now we country, constitutional, criminal, and all areas. So next time we'll see another flyer. We'll not discourage you. What the wait? So
Right. Thank you. I'm glad you come in with that as well. Mr. Palmer, do you have anything to say? Mr. Palmer, one for your hidden voice.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Oh, sorry, camera. Yes. So, guys, thank you so much. At the begin with two lawyer them, especially Mr. Sisewi, or lawyer Sise, should I say? Excuse me. We approached last minute for can cover for we, because we're not able to do this topic justice without you guys. I don't know if I've said this Juma or not you for Siam, but I did see him anyway. So in a few weeks time, we plan for get a similar program like this, what they work on at the moment, but we're going to look at from a survivor's point of view or victim's point of view, however you are looking. So some people them, we guess them go be people that we don't actually suffer in the hands of the police. They will can give you live testimony of how them pass. And personally, myself don't be subjected to Dandy. So I will keep myself in story for that day where I go share with you now. But again, I want to thank both the lawyers and today we didn't take the time for to address such an important topic. As T-Boy say, people have been asking and making a lot of statements on the platform. It's been interesting to read. Obviously, we get to apologize if we're not able to take all the comments them. But if not join me in the next couple of weeks, we could address this topic from the other side of the fence, and hopefully we could try to get somebody from the police for actually can sit down and can answer the question. I'm not gonna promise so, but we could try.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Palmer, and thank you so much to we panelists them. I know we know we say thank you enough to lawyer Sise last minute, as well as lawyer Abdul Kaim Kuma for all we take for go through. And so we viewers them, I want for join lawyer Sise for apologize, not just for lawyer Kaloko, but also for Honorable Almami Kamara, when I strong advocate na salon on so many injustice issues that really happen. Especially within the last 2 years, instead being for being there with we, but unavoidably not feel too well, so now that make excuse himself. And lawyer Kaloko actually called this last minute for join, but tell and say since he's still in a traffic, let's keep him. Hopefully next week or the next table they carry with him, it will be very interesting. And I'm also being voiced now, because he's been talking about these issues day in, day out. So it will be interesting. But on the topic, we don't wait till everybody talk. And waiting me one wait till I pick on now, waiting lawyer say as people, as Sierra Leoneans, more so we will claim say we don't exposed to waiting civilization look like. Waiting humanity look like, meaning not so like I say this part of the world better pass Sierra Leone or whatever, but sometimes you go say some semblance of law and order day, accountability day as well. The law they work to a large extent. So if you deny whether United States, UK or any part, you dey grumble for stop and search. You're able for advocate, you're able to protest, you're able for call you member of parliament, your local council, and tell them say then they suppress you. You're able for go host a protest against the police officer, or you go na council meeting where the police boss there you challenge them. But here, and you able for there as well, now this part of the world, you demonstrate for somebody who lost in life, Black Lives Matter, but you jubilate for where they kill you people them, say they're idle, now youths them, they not get work for do, now politicians, they use them. You want tell me say anybody get right for kill somebody because somebody else use and for go advocate for something where the person believe in? It's a no. The people where they carry the acts on behalf of government, those people in government, they use, now youths then they use, we campaign for them, now youths then they use, we vote for them, now youths then they use, we put them in office. So why they not call their youths then they idle, lawless, and all of those kind of things? So we have to be very careful as a people. We are losing what Sierra Leone is about. We are losing, we values them. We go make, when you go somewhere, they ask you, oh, you're from Africa, what part? You're from Sierra Leone. Oh, how come you are different from another African person? But you're losing that today. But remember, posterity will judge you. Nothing or the way they last forever. Nothing. But if you are a Muslim, you are a Christian, none of those books, then two religion, then they authorize or justify the killing of another person. One of the things the way the Quran talk about, the greatest sin is taking the life of another human being. And I believe that's what the Bible say. That's what the Quran say. And the Bible say as well, an eye for an eye will make the world go blind. Some way, somehow. I know say it inside the Bible. And no support for kill anybody. Femi Pama go help with the verse we say that one day, how then talk inside the Bible, but not the interpretation that one day. So my people, and people in government, Mr. Sise don't highlight, say the law not the rotten. We see what happened with somebody, Jibril Massacre, he was one of the people where they say bear the greatest responsibility for perpetrate violence in our country. He run away, he go. Who said then go catch him 25, 30 years later, then go catch him in Finland. Now it appear at the International Criminal Court. So you in government, we feel say you're untouchable right now. You get immunity. Your immunity stops after end when you stop for serve. That immunity close. That immunity not to forever. And to the president, I will join Mr. Sise and everybody else for appeal to them as the father of the nation, fountain of honor, commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Sierra Leone. Let you remember, say, now one salon we get. You fought war were created by them same issues here will happen today. You sat and gave testimony that the Truth and Reconciliation Commission will then set up. And you at least take collective responsibility for some people that will die. We then take that and then deprive them of them people. You took collective responsibility. You promised us you've been transformed as a civilian person, father of democracy. Your responsibility is to protect every Sierra Leonean, regardless they vote for you or not. You don't have to physically go take somebody in life. But if you hear those things, would they expect you say you will challenge you people the way you put in office for let them do what's right for save people. Let not lost more lives again, please, Mr. President. Because you don't say you're not the president, you're not a listening president, you're not Mr. Talk and Do, and you follow every discourse. Anybody will tell you, say, for continue for let you people within your government or people in offices, whether you know or you don't know, then continue for perpetrate, then can issue here, so it gain you favor. It will not. Nothing will change that you are the president of Sierra Leone. And it will not make you a coward or soft leader if you protect every life as well. So they appeal to you because the buck stop with you. People in diaspora, please, let we lead by example. So we're not able for complete, we're not able for talk all things today, but next week, hopefully we'll continue on this same topic or the following week. but we'll come back to you. And by God in power, we pray say una safe. We'll continue for we ask una follow una continue for being followers and supporters of this medium, and always approach us if you have something to talk about, because we believe saying a one grain Sierra Leone we get, and we get for protect that Sierra Leone Day. We know they condone lawlessness, but at the same time with the appeal that we protect every life we Salon gets. Till next week, Mina Juma Ba on behalf of the CRGM media team, and we panelists them, they say tata. As we talk about burning issues ranging from politics to the economy, culture to sport, education to entertainment, corruption to the environment, we realize the Sierra Leone story is far from finished. So, Sierra Leone Media Production brings you Zoom In. Zoom In is the program that engages everyday people, entrepreneurs, inventors, entertainers, activists, policymakers, and politicians to discuss and debate issues relating to Sierra Leone. Zoom In digs deep into the issues and stories. Zoom In ensures the debate is pushed to another level. Zoom In asks those questions that has never been asked before. So, join us, host Jumaba.
For all Salon people and then party them. Sierra Leone Media will be bringing you a variety of programs ranging from documentaries to discussions, interviews, news, views, sports, and entertainment. Our programs will contain matters on development, governance, the economy, and issues that are of importance to Sierra Leone. So, no left BNO because we get Bebe program then like Salon discussion, meets the ministers, the president's hour, and the Gladi program. Look me, I look you. All this they start soon na www.sierragmedia.org. Now who's tem these?
When I was young, a lot of things were different. Unfortunately, most of the differences seen now are heartbreaking and are not good at all.
Before now, men were strong protectors of the weak, fathers, brothers, lovers, sons. Their mere presence guaranteed the safety of women and children.
But what do we do now?
Men harassing and raping women.
Men sexually abuse little girls.
Men battering and killing their wives.
Any form of sexual assault, be it rape, sexual abuse, or pedophilia, is a killer to human self-esteem.
Women should stop dying in silence.
Speak now.
The rapist should be stigmatized, not the victim.
I think death sentence should be the consequence of such terrible act.
And you mothers, build confidence in your children, put trust in them, listen to them when they make reports, and take necessary actions.
Talking of mothers before now, women were virtuous.
They were mothers, daughters, and sisters.
Nurturing, counseling, supporting their men folks.
But now,
Women are trafficking female children for money.
Women are forced to be silenced.
All this must stop, and it must stop now.
Real men do not abuse, rape, or molest women and children.
It is barbaric, unacceptable.
Let all real men stand with us.
Together, let's say an emphatic no to rape, sexual abuse, pedophilia, and domestic violence.
Of all the crimes committed against a person, rape is the one that leaves the person feeling very violated. A rape victim is often left with the feeling that a part of them has been torn apart.
To use another person's body and ignore the souls that resides within is one of the most outstandingly shocking crimes that one person can commit against another.
Some men harass and rape their women.
Some men sexually abuse underage girls.
Some men beat and kill their wives.
Any form of sexual assault is unacceptable.
There must be consent before you act.
Being in a relationship is not consent.
If they are not sober, they can't consent.
Flirting is not a consent.
We had sex before is not consent.
Silence. It's not consent.
Only an informed, sober, freely given, ongoing, and enthusiastic yes is consent. Women should stop dying in silence. A man does not become a real man by physically dominating a woman. A man becomes a real man by loving, protecting, and respecting the woman.
Real men do not rape or abuse women and children.
Let all real men stand with us. And together, let's say no to child abuse, no to domestic violence, no to all forms of rape, being it spousal rape, intimate partner rape, child sex abuse, statutory rape, date rape, serial rape, and gang rape.
We must rise up against this ugly trend. Justice for one, justice for all.
All sexual assault must stop, and it must stop now.
Yeah, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Love, joy, yeah. My mama used to tell me true love is how much you comprehend. Right to the end. You see them changing different lovers and my feeling like they're superstars. Nowadays many youths fall in love because they want a piece of cake. No, it shouldn't be the way that girl needs love. So draw her close and hold her in your arms. It's time to give up all the faces in the world and turn your mind to what your girl. This thing called love, love, love is supernatural. This thing called love, love, love is unconditional. This thing called love, love, love is so magical. Yeah. Yeah. If you know you cannot make it, then you really don't trust yourself. Be rest assured what you give to her is what she gives to you. No, you don't know what it means to be loved. Get yourself involved, you will learn. Love your end, such a feeling is a chemistry to the soul. Love your end, such a feeling is a chemistry to the soul. This thing called love, love is supernatural. Yeah, this thing called love, love, love is unconditional. This thing called love, love, love is so magical. Yeah. Tell you the truth, love is so romantic. And I tell you again, love is so magical. And I tell you again, love is supernatural. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So all the lyrics that I sing for you, you better grab before you lose your roots. Don't let it dwell in your mind. True love is hard to find. So when you lose it, someone else will take it. Don't be kiddish in the game. How can you live to love again in this thing called love? In this thing called love.
Silverstone Beats.
People killing, people dying, children hurting, hear them crying. You can practice what you preach, or would you turn the other cheek? Father, 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 help us, send some guidance from above. People got me questioning, where is the love?
See this life we live, oh, we all have to give, oh, yeah, yeah. Cause all I see is evil, and too much killing of my people, yeah, yeah. So let's bless one another, yeah, yeah. So let's help one another. I sing again, yeah.
What's me, I don't see this can't seem where they happen. This not to be education opportunity. Now in we need, let we learn for the share, not to attempt for the greed.
You see this life we live, oh, it's either we lose or we know. Stop killing one another, let's stand together, yeah. Stop playing the hero, looking at each other like was zero. On the block with the sea, money they can make every day pan free, yeah.
Outright beat, they took our boys, they take our joy, take our joy. They study time, we stop now crime. Don't blind, but it's like your future.
Stop the stabbing.
better life, a life that we all deserve. Instead of killing each other, why don't we preserve? So you wanna be a bad man, he's gonna be a badder man. You got a big knife, he's gonna get a bigger knife. Our people suffered for years in chains. Now we turn on each other, cut for gains. For the ones that send the youths to kill themselves. You pretend to be a father figure but only care for yourself. You are nothing but the flesh of the devil. You're evil, low life on another level. Think about the mothers and the pain they go through. You don't care for these kids, they mean nothing to you. But karma only knows the boomerang maneuver. One day the green reaper will be your remover.
They settle the range, ranting up some sanctimonious food. Is a poetic verses, ruminate a prophecy given to a sentient dude. So I say it's at ease for you to listen and deduce the wisdom that's gonna liberate and galvanize you. Under the sun ain't nothing new. That for black on black crimes and breaking news. Under the sun ain't nothing new.
You gotta stand up. Stand up for what you believe in. Gotta stand up. Stand up for what is right. 'Cause if you got me, then I've got you too. Regardless of what you've been through. Even when you're feeling new. Do this if we try. There's no time to waste your time. Together forever, whatever the weather. Us as a unit working together.
See, I did not love done, but me heart still not tongue. God don't lift me up, but me heart still not gone. You will never go far if you don't know where you're from. So I don't do it for myself, I'ma do it for the young. Please to my brothers, let's do it for the youngers. Why spend a bag on a jumper? Back where you're from, people dying with hunger. With people then they suffer. You then I you the bluff, it's copper. You the game need for change. Like we not get some. Where's the love? Where's the love, yo? Where's the love? I said, where is the love?
Little youth, let's take time. Stop all the knife and the gun crime. Think of the future, paint that picture. Get a youth in the future. Peace gonna rain on me. Peace gonna rain on me. Yeah.
Let's stop the violence and come together. Get rid of knives and guns and bombs. Let's be together. With peace and love, golden up through storm and weather. See what is going on. Where is the love?
Tell me, how do you feel when you see your brothers and sisters lying down the street helplessly? And what will you do if you die today and find yourself in hell? I want to ask you this. Look inside your eyes and answer me with all the truth. Where you get whose side the love they
when I left. Boku man them get nef. If you live by the nef, you go suffer. You know get sense, you know sabi say nef not for butter. Stabbing guys, yeah that's uncool. When it comes to knives, yeah I'm anti. What happened to fighting guys with your hands, G? When you stab a man, it's not one man you stab. Just remember that you stab a whole family.
People killing, people dying, children hurt and hear them crying. You can practice what you preach, or you will turn the other cheek. Father, 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 help us, send some guidance from above. People got me questioning, where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love? The love, the love. Where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love? The love, the love.
Yes, this na term for all salon people and them party them. Sierra Leone Media will be bringing you a variety of programs ranging from documentaries to discussions, interviews, news, views, sports, and entertainment. Our programs will contain matters on development, governance, the economy, and issues that are of importance to Sierra Leone. So, no left BNO because we get Bebe program then like salon discussion, meets the ministers, the president's hour, and the Gladi program. Look me, I look you. All this they start soon na www.sierragemedia.org. Now who's tem these?
As we talk about burning issues ranging from politics to the economy, culture to sport, education to entertainment, corruption to the environment, we realize the Sierra Leone story is far from finished. So, Sierra Leone Media Production brings you Zoom. Zooming In is the program that engages everyday people, entrepreneurs, inventors, entertainers, activists, policymakers, and politicians to discuss and debate issues relating to Sierra Leone. Zooming In digs deep into the issues and stories. Zooming In ensures the debate is pushed to another level. Zooming In asks those questions that has never been asked before. So, join us, host Chumaba.